And by the way, what I just described is also plus 650 on DraftKings for the gentleman's sweep. The sweep by OKC at last check was plus 250. So I think there are two things that are going to happen here, Jay. Number one, the coaching will be negated a little bit because Carlisle's not going to have a guy who is as out to lunch on the other side as, say, Tom Thibodeau was. And the other thing is Oklahoma City has not one, not two,
hold
but
on,
three.
Hold on. I want to interrupt you for a
Good.
second. I'm sorry. You think Tom Thibodeau was out to lunch?
Yeah. Absolutely. It took him too long to go to Mitchell Robinson. He ultimately sat Josh Hart and still played him starter minutes. So if you put the guy on the bench to still turn around and play him 35 minutes a game, it didn't make sense to me.
Fair. And no, I guess for me with Tom Thibodeau, I really respect his leadership style, and I think he did a lot to sort of keep them even keeled to get through that Celtics series. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to hear what you had to say about TT.
No, and the other thing too is we got to remember Carlisle's a Hall of Fame coach. Like there's a, you know what I mean? Like that's a guy Rick Carlisle might be the most underrated coach in the NBA because when fans talk about great coaches, people don't bring that guy up. So it is comparing Thibodeau to somebody who is going to go to the Hall someday. But I think Dagno knows his OKC team pretty well. And the way they got after Ant-Man was the top three defenders all rotated and gave him something a little different. And they're going to do the same thing to Halliburton. And here's the other deal, is that you look at Indiana, you don't know who the next best guy is. It's Siakam. Siakam's not a 30-point-a-night guy. He can get you 25. He'll have one game where he gets you 39, but he's not going to light it up. If Halliburton's having another one of these stellar 4-point performances in a big spot, Siakam's not going to score 50 to be able to cover it up. And that defense will rotate. And I think, honestly, between Lou Dort, SGA, and whichever one of the Williams you want to pick or whatever, I think those guys have the ability to eat up, and I mean eat up, Membhard, Halliburton, and ultimately Aaron Nesmith. So Siakam's got to score 50 for them to hang in. He might have a chance to, but I think those other dudes get eaten alive by that OKC defense.
Fair. And I think the series price, OKC minus 700 and Indiana plus 500,
that's where it should be.
Makes some sense. I do think Indiana matches up decently, and because Indiana can have a different dude potentially do it every night, I think that there is some potential there. I agree with you, and I believe in this OKC team to such an extent, and SGA is my favorite player in the league. I love watching him. We talked about last week, just, 1 for 2 from 3 on the game. You know what I mean? 12 for 14 from the line. But I do think Indiana could make this interesting. One of the bets that I'm looking at is over 5.5 games. And you probably don't like this, but I see it at plus 115. I just think perhaps we get a 6-game series here, I like a little juice there, right? But to me, ultimately, if gun to my head, I think 4-1 OKC, like your point, gentlemen sweep, right? But looking for opportunities, there's not a lot of opportunities here. I also, the team that just, cleared me 42-1, I don't mind. That's sort of a creative way for me to say maybe they get a couple games. I do believe in Halliburton as a leader, and I do believe that sometimes when he's confident, he can really perform above maybe his skill set. And fascinating, SGA and Halliburton, both guys that are not drafted by the team that they're representing in the finals right now, which is fascinating. But yeah, I think as this conversation goes on, I think maybe I'm getting a little bit, over my skis with Indiana. Nobody's given them a shot playing with house money. They got there, and I think potentially, but when you think about Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam down low, those the guy, right? I mean, those are your two guys, Obi Toppin. They're just not that tall. I think Holmgren's going to have a great series. So,
I think, and that's the thing with Holmgren. He's another one of those guys that if he's on, he's more of a 15-point, 10 rebound type guy than he is somebody that's going to completely blow up like an SGA. So Giannis's name came up in connection to Boston once again. This time it was Worldwide Windhorst on ESPN, who had mentioned that the Celtics could be among the teams who could be in on Giannis Antetokounmpo. And there's, without giving people the ice cream headache, both are second apron teams, so you almost have to do a 1-for-1 swap and then throw the sweeteners in there. Like it would be potentially Giannis for Jaylen Brown and then draft picks, or if you have to get a third team involved to make it work, that would be the way. Maybe there's another second apron team out there who can ultimately jump in on all of this. But this is now the third time people other than Rubes like you and I, who just do shows like this each and every Tuesday at 11 a.m. right here as you are watching. But there are smart people that are starting to bring it up. Do you think there's some fire to the smoke that is out there of Giannis in Boston?
I don't think so. It would shock me if it happened. And I believe it was Miles Turner had some comments about how these super teams maybe aren't working anymore, right?
Correct.
Now, if you're telling me you got Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jason Tatum on the same roster, I just really love that potential fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they offset each other well. I think they could be very dynamic together. So that gets me very excited. But I think it's a pipe dream. I think it's super unlikely. And the idea for Milwaukee that you're going to sort of maybe build around Jaylen Brown, it would have to be a very big deal around Jaylen Brown for that to entice Milwaukee to move on from Giannis, even though Brown may be a little bit younger. I want to just bring one more thing to you, right? This is from Yahoo's Vishwisha Kumar, if it's the right name, because this is the Kool-Aid I'm drinking. Quote, the front office is reportedly exploring a fire sale that would keep only the core of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White, while shopping supporting pieces like Porzingis, Horford, and maybe even Drew Holiday, depending on their future plans. Now, to me, this is like a pipe dream. I don't think this is real. I think it would be super challenging to do all that. However, if they can be creative with Brad Stevens in this next season where you're sort of punting a little bit, right? You got Jaylen Brown and Derek White and everybody else gone. Jason Tatum healing himself up. Maybe you don't make the postseason, but I would love nothing more at this stage, because we still got a fresh banner hanging on Causeway Street. I would love to build around Tatum, Brown, and Derek White and gut the roster. What do you think about that?
I would not be against it at all. I know there are complications in doing so because of this stupid cap rules. Like, my God, I become a financier, for God's sakes. But the Celtics are not allowed to aggregate contracts and use more than 100% of the traded player exception, which means they have to match almost perfectly to be able to get something done. And that's where it gets a little complicated, because there is a tiny bit of wiggle room in there. But to your point, if you're trading $35 million Kristaps Porzingis, you can't bring back $20 million in money. You have to bring back all that dough to be able to match it, and then maybe peel people off your roster. So the Celtics have gotten so good, and it's such a point to the cap, to where they might have to trade for guys where you just go, he was a throw-in to make it work.